p.m. out here still in Amsterdam. Excited because I'm just a couple days away from a really fun conference I've been looking forward to, or an event that I'm really excited for as well. But thought it'd also be really fun to talk through what's happening here with a new mint in Sugartown. It's pretty cool. We're seeing a little bit of volume, but we're also seeing ooh, a lot of the failures in Sugartown's mint kind of coming in, right? And what we're essentially seeing here is that Sugartown has essentially built a very blind strategy on what they're doing. They have the Zynga connection, and if you're not familiar, Zynga is one of the a preeminent social gaming company, very well known in the previous era of Facebook gaming. If you remember Farmville, and then they have some really interesting, successful IP even now today, including Zynga Poker, CSR Racing, a game that I was a part of as well, what Zynga acquired way back in the day. And this is kind of what is really interesting is that we still don't know what Sugartown is. From the website, we get a very high level that it is almost like a Genesis pass to a ecosystem of multiple mints or multiple games. And then there's some hints that there's some staking feature if you look at the kind of vision roadmap stuff, but no one knows exactly what it is. It looks like you're getting some game crystals. So what is really interesting here is that they're kind of going against a lot of the waves. I think, hey, give them props for a free mint. They're not extracting, which is great. They did 10,000 supply, but it's only effective 6,000 supply. 4,000 is being held back. Interesting choice. Not a bad choice, but interesting to see how that 4,000 will be able to do it. And what is the other larger challenge we're running into is that Sugartown took a very weird curation methodology that was very grind intensive. And in doing so, it made it very easy for a lot of low value wallets and users to use alt accounts and be able to get multiple allocations. And it looks like a few of you are noting it. There's a guy, I guess, cornbread.eth. Some of you are saying he has 46 alt accounts minted. Ooh, that's a pretty crazy scenario, but it's not surprising, right? And the reason why it's not surprising is that when you gamify the only product experience to grind in a Discord and play their levels in games, right? You're really just optimizing for people who have more time than money. And when you're optimizing for people who have more time than money, and it's a very linear progress, they could essentially gamify that and essentially grind it. And they could grind it with alts. They could grind it with a community. Sugartown easily was structured to have this kind of manipulation, unfortunately, and we were already seeing this. One of the things I had shared with you guys before is that Tribe's been building this kind of curated blacklist and or curated block list, right, of bad actors or bad holders in the ecosystem. And what's also great about that is that it means that we could reflect and start assessing, right, curation strategies from other partners. And Sugartown had a lot of issues. It actually showed a lot of major problems with it. And this is kind of like the sad problem here is that, Sugartown could have been way more successful. I know this market thinks this is a win. This is not a win. If this is Sugartown is going to be stuck here at this zero point 0.1 to 0.15 E floor price, that's actually a major loss for the actual product. Because what it's going to do relatively quickly is that you're going to see that they're not going to they're not going to have enough layers of value behind this. Because at least from what we're seeing how Sugartown is building this, it sounds like this is almost a factory-like NFT, where this is this lead yield Genesis pass, and then by holding this pass, you'll yield game crystals or some other type of access that could either be used for liquidity or for utility within the product. But if your Genesis Pass is only hovering around this price, it means that the future layers are not going to have, a healthy enough way to grow. And this is a massive miss if a company this large as Zynga is not able to get their free mint into a healthy floor price with all the resources they have. It's just going to be hard for them to keep attention. And we'll see because, what's crazy about Sugartown is we know nothing about it. We know nothing about the sequence of what's launching. We don't even know what's happening next. It's quite a really tough spot. And we're seeing some interesting data. But let's talk about some of the good things, and then let's talk about some of the areas that probably need to be improved. So I think the first and most important thing is like, there's good volume on this. So at least there was a little bit of this market being excited. So like this is where the largest challenge here is for Sugartown. I just dropped the Blur link, and here's the OpenSea link if you're interested. As I kind of said, they probably need to do around 200 to 250 ETH in volume to stay between a zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2 ETH floor in that first day. And then if they really want to push beyond that, right, that's kind of where we needed to see 300 ETH as well too. And that 300 ETH is going to be another huge tranche of being able to get access. And this is what you're essentially seeing now is that even guys like Sugartown, right, you're seeing them, they race out, was almost around 0.14, 0.15, and it's already retracing in the middle of its mint down to 0.1. Right? And it's not bad. It's a free mint, so at least they're not extracting, right? And this is because the largest challenge ends up being though is this going to be long-term valuable, and will this keep long-term interest, right? And this is we're even seeing, and this is not just a Zynga problem. This is we saw this on Galaxis. If Galaxis had half a brain on understanding growth and marketing, Galaxis could easily be at a 0.5 ETH floor right now, right? Because they only have 400 NFTs. But Galaxis doesn't know what they're doing, unfortunately. Sugartown, same thing. They're struggling to know exactly the right strategy here, and they're going with blind speculation, which is not the thing that Sugartown should be doing. I think the one big thing that Sugartown's making a mistake is they're not curating for actual holders. Right? They're not curating for actual gamers because we don't even know what game genre they are. Right? So what are they actually curating for? Free mint is going to bring in short-term traders and flippers. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's that it's only bad if that's the only thing you're bringing with those incentives. And you have to keep this super high curation of free mints. Right? And there were numerous vectors of attack on Sugartown, right? If you want to be a grinder, or if you have someone who has more money, more time than money, and that's not a bad thing, you want to figure out a balance, right? You could give those individuals meaningful rewards, but it was linear action, so it was very easy to climb up. The other problem and vector of attack that Sugartown ran into is they used pre-mint quite a bit. And again, I've told you, you could really mess around with pre-mint here quite a bit. Right? What is the challenge here? Is that, hey, what's up, Lychee? Great to see you here as well. What's crazy here about Sugartown, right, is that by using pre-mint, they're allowing people to essentially do multiple alt accounts to enter in, and it just comes down to the raffle god. But I've told you guys, I know multiple people with thousands of pre-mint profiles set up. Right? It's not that hard to set up thousands of pre-mint profiles if you want to make tons of profit on this. And with that, right, you start relying on these vectors of attack. And their curation strategy really didn't go through a lot of partnerships, which is actually the other big flaw that they ran into. There's no community anchoring Sugartown. There's no major tier 1 partnership. And what ended up happening is that they almost did a curation methodology that almost is exactly similar to Momoguru, right? And they did almost the same launch strategy, right? Did two semi-large spaces. One was with Whale or Wale. I still want to call him Wale for the rapper. They also did another one with Zeneca. Literally very similar to what Momoguru did. I think Momoguru did G Money and Zeneca as well, right, with their mega spaces or something like that. And this is kind of like the larger challenge now is that so many of these people are struggling to realize how much you have to defend when you're doing a free mint, right? Like you have to defend a ton when you're doing a free mint. And this is the other reason I want to share this with you is that you could also see how much this got exploited because what you should do is that if you go to just the listings, look how perfectly laddered all the listings are. Like it's really weird. It's like it doesn't even look organic. And what do I mean by that? It's just like look at exactly the price points where everything is. Like all the way from point one, right, where it's at, you just start going up and you start realizing there's like prices at every point. 0.115, 0.116, 0.117, 0.118, 0.119, 0.119, 0.1198, 0.12, 0.12, 0.12, 0.12, 0.121, 0.1212, 0.123, right? And like, oh, there's a shit at 0.12. There's a shit ton at 0.12, right? And it's almost laddered near perfectly. Which is usually a sign of people who probably exploited the mint and are just trying to ladder up. It's the reverse of dollar cost average, right? I mean, it's dollar cost average in sales, right? That's really what it is, and they're pumping it up, and then worse comes to worse, right? They can start dumping them into bids after the first couple hours of Blur. So there's a lot of signs that showcase to you that honestly, SugarTown did an awful curation job, right? Just an awful curation job here, right? And because of that, you're going to see some larger challenges in this market because again, if you don't understand curation, you're going to lose the game of sell pressure versus buy pressure, right? And this is what we're seeing is that in a bear market, like even Zynga, which had actually good velocity coming right out the gates on SugarTown, could not outpace the sell pressure, right? And outpace it with buy pressure. And this is kind of the sad part about this. And I know for those of you who may be low in wallet funds, you might be looking at, hey, it's still a win, right? But to be very honest, this is if this maintains this price point around a 0.1 E floor, this is a major miss. It's a huge loss for Zynga, right? It's a huge miss on Zynga's front, right? And mainly it's because, like I said, their factory won't be able to give any more yield in the future, right? And if that's the case, then the expected value of all the other sub games is incredibly low. And then if this is the only quote unquote return pool that they have, yeah, they own 4,000 of these still. So great, they just have like 400 ETH of these assets. But the question is like, is it actually going to kind of scale? And the honest truth is that it's probably not, right? And this is kind of why I think this is the larger challenge here, is that almost all these individuals are going to be struggling because they're still underestimating how bare this market is. It's so damn bare. If a publicly traded gaming company doing a free mint can't even escape a 0.1 E floor on a Genesis pass, yo, this is rough. Don't get me wrong, they did a lot of things wrong. Supply size wrong, curation strategy wrong, lack of alignment on the product wrong, right? Like this is tough, right? It's really tough for NFTs at this point. And you want to continue watching this because we're right now looking at it at its peak days. Ooh, and Blur. Oh yeah, Blur offers are now can be accepted. It looks like, or at least I just saw a couple Blur offers be accepted. So interesting. We're not going to just keep an eye on this, and I'd want you to keep an eye on two things. One is, right, of course, like understand floor price and the buying like pressure behind this. But the other thing that you really should be working on looking at is look how thick the depth is of the listings. Right now, there's 460 listings on 3,000 supply, right? Not great. That's 15% listed at the moment right now, and that's through a bunch of buy pressure here. But again, you're seeing still tons of sales and tons of volume. It's about to pass 100 ETH total volume, which is great. Like, that's actually really solid for the first hour. It might be able to kick to 300. It's definitely, I don't think it's going to kick to 300 ETH. It's going to slow down. It was going to kick to, only way it would have kicked to 300 ETH if this started to like lead towards a zero point 0.2 ETH floor. It's going to be way too hard to get that amount of sales at 0.1 E. And again, they're only at half mint right now. So you know the other people who are seeing this retrace, and this is the other challenge, and this is another thing that you want to think through here as well, is like, damn, like, do you even do a live mint in a bear market? And what do I mean by this? If you do a live mint in a bear market, and live mint means you're doing like multiple tranches of a live mint, like the problem is each tranche, the later the tranche you're in, the more worried you get, right? Because you start looking at this floor price, right? If you're in the first one right now, you know first come first serve and public are looking like, god damn, what am I going to get? I just need to get it and flip it for any profit at this point, right? And that's kind of the other thing, and that's the challenge. And I know you guys are saying language like poor people ruined NFTs. That's not it. Builders and the trader mindset ruined NFTs. Short term mindsets ruined NFTs, right? Because I mean, it sucks, man. I mean, it honestly sucks that I'm even doing this session and breaking down to you in real time in 45 minutes from the launch of a first project, and we kind of know this is going sideways, right? Like literally, it's going sideways, and we can see it, and it sucks because we don't even know what their product is, and that's what we're talking about. But this is what the game has turned into, and this is the other reason that you have to think about like almost a new way of designing product experiences now, because it's so rough. It's really rough to be able to execute in this space, and what you'll realize super quickly, right? What you'll realize is that if we want to succeed, you have to build some type of long-term relationship. And I think, like, bluntly, SugarTown did an awful job at this. When we don't know the games we're getting, we don't know the utility of the product, we don't know how we can participate in a meaningful way, SugarTown does not have a real community in any manner. And right, it's a community of opportunists, right? But you don't want a community of only opportunists, right? Or at least a community where the primary motivation is opportunity. You want a community of alignment, right? And I think that's where it gets way more interesting is how do you build for that market? And how do you build for that relationship? And how do you rethink the product launch? I think, again, like what a lot of people aren't recognizing here for these projects is, if I have to put it like very bluntly, is we have to rethink the entire mint strategy. Like, mints are broken in this bear market. You cannot keep going out into this market with the same approach. If you do, you're going to get wrecked. You really are, right? And I think that becomes like the larger challenge here is that a lot of these do get wrecked, right? They are continually getting wrecked. And what's happening here is that for free mints, we have to be conscious of it as well, right? Why am I conscious of this? Like, we get it. When we announce free mint, what are you guys all looking for? Right? Is you're going to see a ton of people who believe in the better you tell your story and the better the hype and the better the perceived expected value of that asset, the more likely you're going to get introduced to short-term flippers because it is a profit marketplace opportunity, right? So if we do that, then the question that begs is, how do you counter that? Well, there's a lot of interesting things that you could do to counter it, right? So one of the things that you could do to counter it, right, is how do you remove short-term flippers? Don't allow trading for the first 90 days of the asset. What happens then? Right? Like, it changes the entire relationship between the user and the flipper, where they may no longer want to play that game, right? Not saying that's the only solution, but that's just how you almost have to start thinking about if you are a new project minting into this market. And it's not just free mint. Just free mints are easily the better targets right now. Venture-backed free mints, that's like what almost any smart grinder flipper alt is going to be optimizing for. But the same thing works for paid mints if they believe profit is there, right? Just right now, it's not there. Yeah, but only locking 20% of the supply for 60 days means nothing. You have to lock 100% of the supply if you're going to do a strategy like that. You can't go halfway. That's what people don't understand, right? Is that all these people think that, hey, how do you do this and actually scale this out to be sustainable? And this is the challenge, is that it's not sustainable because the attention span on mints only allows you to be in the primary, conversation for like 48 hours. And if you don't succeed in that 48 hours, you then lose almost all your velocity. Have new product unveil, right? Or you have to be able to scale much further. But we have to start looking at metrics that are long term, because like this is a hard failure if I'm Zynga. Like if I'm looking at this right now, I'm just like, God damn, we really messed this up. I don't know what they're thinking, right? But from a pure business opportunity perspective, this doesn't even make sense, right? And the real reason for this is that they're going to be challenged to create an expected layer of value for all the future games. Because remember, if this is the Genesis Pass, how much do all of the secondary items matter then in that game world? It's tough, right? Because it's what the pattern matching of Web3 is, right? Pattern matching of Web3 is, asset 1 is worth this, then asset 2 from this is probably a 3-to-1 to 5-to-1 to sometimes 10-to-1 ratio yield. So even in like the 3-to-1 bullish scenario, right, if you can get that, right, like, those are really hard to pull off. But let's say you get 3-to-1 ratio between your first and second asset. Let's assume this settles at 0.1 ETH just for the sake of conversation. Like, how excited are you knowing that the next yield is going to be worth 0.033 ETH? Probably not a ton, right? And that's kind of where like this challenge kind of comes in, is that, that expected yield makes it hard for people to be excited about the project. And then we have to ask ourselves, okay, then wait, what about this other 4,000 supply that's being held? How is that going to be distributed, right? And that's kind of why, it's going to be a pretty large challenge for them to kind of execute in this market. And, it sucks because, like Fuzzy, like I think in this case, this is purely a project that is built for bots to profit, right? This is what like this entire mint was. It reminds me of, don't get me wrong, a lot of mints do this. It just sucks that it's happened to SugarTown, because this is the other reason why it's worth bringing up. I think, even ICO Beast was saying this. Like, if we executed this correctly, like, honestly, if Diamonds were able to be a part of this and Tribe was able to be part of that strategy, I feel there were some really smart, healthy tweaks that could have had this be a 1 ETH floor asset. That's actually why I know this is an abject failure. And you're crazy not to think that, SugarTown doesn't care about the floor price and Zynga doesn't care about the floor price. They absolutely care about the floor price, because that is their user acquisition vault value, right? Because imagine if this was 1 ETH right? Just say hypothetically. Well, great. Then do you know that their vault of 4,000 is worth 4,000 ETH? Bro, that's like $6-7 million of user acquisition value, right? And that's kind of like an insane element here as well. So like this is kind of where this challenge is. Freeman says mint mechanics don't dictate the success of the project. I mean, I actually massively disagree with that. Mint mechanics have a huge dictation on the success. Is it the solo success? Absolutely not. Solo element. Is it absolutely a critical factor? Of course. Right. And I know this from the good and the bad, right? Like straight up, right? One of the projects we're very close with, Ether, right? Ether's mint mechanics massively impacted the success of the project. It weren't great mint mechanics for the quality of that art, right? And this is kind of the exact problem here is that if you don't curate your holders, that is more important than anything else in this market. And that's part of mint mechanics. If you're not curating an actual real community, right? Like this is kind of the biggest thing in the end, right? Is that most of these people don't recognize how important, especially in a bear, it is to curate and build the right mint mechanics. And again, mint mechanics means your supply is also a very large factor to it. Your distribution, right, is going to be another large factor to it. And this becomes like all these elements here that do need to be a part of your world and your strategy as well too. And I think if people, I'm not saying that the project is an immediate failure by any means. That's not the case, but it is a abject failure in the value to Zynga's primary business, right? The question that Zynga is asking is why should we continue investing resources in Web3? And if they see price action like this and floor prices like this, I think it's going to have massive negative repercussions on the perceived value of their future assets, right? Which is really tough, right? It really makes it very difficult here as well. And yeah, Adrian, you could only mint from 5 countries. You have to VPN. So US is one of those countries, and then I believe it's like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia. I forget the exact 5 elements, but yeah, you do have to VPN. Yeah, there's no single EU, Africa, South America, Central America, or Australia access to it, technically, uh, which is pretty interesting. Um, and this is like the challenge here in this because again, Zynga has to work through legal hurdles, and this is a real challenge for them. And and it's tough, right? Especially being a U.S. C corp that's publicly traded, their ability to mess around with the law is very low. Last thing they want is the SEC to be like, "Huh? What are you guys doing over there?" Right? And that becomes the other challenge here too. But the problem that you're going to see is that I think Zynga is trying to build a weird baby of Axie meets Wolf Game. That's my bet. So what I mean by that is they want to go after the pay to earn users from the last wave, right? And those were Axie users, and that was primarily Southeast Asia, right? And that's also like a very interesting like location for it. And there's grinders in all countries. I want to be very clear on this front. Like grinders are not in one locale. But there's a difference of willingness to grind based off purchasing power and unemployment rates in certain countries. And that's where it gets really interesting. And that's why like Southeast Asia and Philippines were so amazingly valuable for Axie. Like, dude, Axie was so popular in that region that storefronts were willing to accept Axie tokens for purchasing like goods. Right? Like you could buy your groceries in Axie shards, right? It was kind of nuts. Right? And that's kind of like the big thing here is that I think Zynga's going after that active audience that is willing to pay on a low cost entry point, and then at the same time, what they're trying to do is build something more core to Wolf Game. I know their lead Web3 lead Matt loves Wolf Game. Like that was the element. So the little bit more core. It's Farmville on steroids. It really does meet their kind of needs, right? So that's what I think they're doing. But it's crazy. We don't even know. And this is actually like the other thing that I'm actually a little bit disappointed in with Zynga is that, like, man, why are they playing such a blind approach with their gaming project? Like the fact that we don't know the genre of the project, like you don't have to show tons of footage in my opinion. But we really don't even know the genre. We don't even know what auras are. We don't know if there's even a PFP asset. Like what what is going on here? Why is Zynga being so coy with their strategy? And I'm not a fan of it, right? Like I'm not, mainly for one major reason is that it could lead to this Momoguru like outcome. And I don't think Zynga is going to be that unprepared. They've been building for 12, 15 months, right? So and they're a real gaming company. Like I want to be very clear. Momoguru was never a gaming company. Momoguru was a storytelling company, and they really sucked at their Web3 story. But what I'm now more interested in is seeing, can Zynga actually build product? And this is what I also want to share is like, here's the bullish case. If you do believe in Zynga and you do believe in the announcements, if this really is a Genesis Pass that has yield, this could be undervalued. I don't think that's been communicated in that way. I don't. We haven't really seen any of these details, but that's what I'd also be looking at because again, I don't think it's an awful buy. Like I'll probably go buy one here pretty soon. Here, let me see. Yeah, I'll send some money to my. Ugh, it's always annoying to protect my ETH by keeping it offline at times, but I definitely need to put it online at times too. Yeah, I'll go buy like a couple of these and just throw them in the vault because we might as well learn from them. And shout out, Zynga's given me money in the past, so I might as well pay it forward a little bit by buying some of the assets. But am I super bullish on them? Oh, nice. Congrats, Wizbang. I love the imps. I'm actually like still surprised on the strategy Zynga's using because it still feels 2021, right? It really does, right? Like it does feel like 2021 kind of plays, right? Pre-mint only, mini game whitelist grind and leading to no understanding of product prior to mint. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen with this first come first serve wave. When does that start, or did that just open up? I'm not even paying attention. What is it at? So they minted 3,200 already. It looks like, or well, let me refresh this. Yeah, showing 3,200 on Blur, and it's showing. I should just go to Etherscan. Oh yeah, 3,220. Yeah. Sugartown auras, and let's look at the holder distribution really quickly. Yeah, so 3,222 minted. There's 2,000 holders. That's good holder distribution. Cornbread still owns 82. Memes are hot owns 40. I'm curious how he bought. Did he just buy these? Yep. Looks like he bought these. Yep. Yadjin, Cryptosaur. Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes. Is this Dots from Kaiju buying in? Oh, Dots? He's looks like he's bought like 11. I don't know if that's actual Dots. Hold on. Let's see. Because he also bought like half of them from Cornbread, which is kind of funny. I'm trying to see if it. Yeah, it looks like. I think it's the same Dots. Yep. Looks like it. Curious. So he bought 10. he's either bullish or he's trying to sell Kaiju to Singa, which could be interesting. Um, so yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see where this is gonna play out. Yeah, I'll wait. I don't really care. I'll wait to buy in like 3 or 4 days. To be honest, there's unlikely that they have a major announcement. Maybe they that's like the plays that if you expect there to do a major announcement tomorrow or Friday, right? Like then that's the only way the price goes up. I'll probably grab like one or two later today. And then maybe if there's nothing happens like over the weekend, there's probably gonna be another like 20% dip there. If not more. And you could get it in. And again, this also reminds me of like the same. Again, this was a Polygon mint. It's a little bit different, but the price action on this kind of reminds me of also Wildcard, right? If you remember them, their Genesis Wild Pass kind of got to this 0.1, 0.15 kind of range, right? And then again, this was Polygon mint. It's back down to a 0.07, and it's kind of similar supply. It's 4,444 compared to the 6,000 here. And, again, didn't do as much volume because it's on Polygon. But, these guys raised $50 million. Like, their Genesis Pass is also in, like, abject failure, in my opinion, as well. So this is kind of like where it's really tough because just free mints with liquidity doesn't make sense unless you're hyper curating, right? And you have to hyper curate and build, and this is where the factory design does still make sense, right? Like, when we look at early dimensionals was really thoughtful and smart in terms of the structure of value and execution. If they actually held that floor price up, Eve would have been so healthy. There was so much interest going into Eve, right? And then, of course, they had some struggles. But if you actually look at what they did in a bear market for the first, 120 days, that was above 1 ETH, 1.5 ETH floor, which is crazy for a small supply play, free mint, right? Like, yeah, there was, of course, flippers. There were guys like Nate. But imagine if Tribe had more control of the entire allocation, because Tribe's allo was the best part of Dimensionals, right? It doesn't mean that all of us hold. Some of you guys took liquidity, which is totally fine. But we also bought in more, right? We were, bullish on the concept and the opportunity as well. And that's going to be like the opportunity. ICO Beast is overly. He's fudding. He'll fud everything but his bag. That's what I love about my boy ICO Beast. Don't get me wrong. I hope Dimensionals figures out a way. I am not hopeful at all that it's going to happen in Web3. So we'll start a prayers circle for Dimensionals. But there was something interesting, and that's why I'm very excited about Jungle. Jungle's thinking through a very similar philosophy, learning from those outcomes. And yeah, that's true. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, ICOB spreads the fun around. That's the right way to do it. And now I'm going to be very curious to see how does Jungle resolve that. How coming Village Partners resolve that. It's going to be pretty interesting, right? But the other good thing is we could see a lot of this stuff happening in real time, and that's the thing is we want to keep a very close eye on this, right, and see where this goes. And if this can work, it can be pretty healthy. So it looks like Sugar Town's going to stay in that 0.1 to 5 range. Congrats if you were able to get a mint, and there's value there. I hope there's reasons for you to hold. And I think that's going to be a really big opportunity as well there too. And I think the big challenge is it's going to be a huge opportunity for the market. And I think the challenge now comes in for the overall market to see is how do you learn from this, right? And I think that's going to be really important is that you have to continually learn from this project. Right, and that's kind of a larger challenge. Fuzzy just posted. Camel says the team is currently investigating how one user was SugarTown NFTs. This is not a contract exploit, as all mints were done via separate wallets. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, right, they don't really know why all this happened, right? Which just shows you, like, they weren't prepared for Web3. Right? They weren't prepared for all these extractors, right? They're like, wait, what? Wait, our grind system only in a short amount of window led to people, getting around this? Like, oh no, right? And don't be wrong, Tribe has to learn about this stuff as well too. This is why we protect our oath at all costs. We are protecting the curation of this all costs, and that's kind of why it's a very important thing here as well, right? Is that the market isn't fighting back fast enough with good product execution, right? And this is where you're seeing SugarTown just kind of fall in, and it sucks for SugarTown. Like, I hope they figure it out, but SugarTown is still getting volume, which is great. Like, shout out to them. Shout out to this wallet. Holy shit! It's just funny to look at some wallets because there's some guys who are just like massively setting up walls. Like, I'm looking at this wallet imseqq.eth, and like he just like listed 30 of them at 0.13. And his costs were zero for all of these. So he also minted on multiple wallets. Like, check out this wallet. Pretty interesting. Or here, I'll just share this Blur wallet. I didn't look at all the details here, which is pretty interesting, right? And I think this is kind of like the nice little thing about learning from these projects. That's the full Blur profile of seeing what that guy held, and that's his wallet. I haven't looked fully into it, but it looks like he owns 23. At least according to Blur, he's didn't buy any of these, so these all look like they got transferred into one wallet. And he just put a wall at 0.1. I mean, a wall of his 23 at 0.13. Might be worth investigating to see how he got those 23. Maybe he bought them earlier. It just doesn't show it on the Blur side of the equation, at least in my view. And I'm too lazy to go investigate. But that's like the problem here. Is that, so he minted and consolidated. Okay, right. So this guy got 23. And that's what I'm saying is you're seeing tons of people getting 10, 20, 50, and the worst part is that these are people that SugarTown was counting on to be real long-term holders or real potential community members, and now they're all getting rotated out. And that's the other problem about good mint structures. The best mint structures are actually mint structures that have like low volume, in a weird way. Like, but it's a weird trap, right? It's like, oh, no volume's death, but like lowish volume because you have low listings and high conviction, right? Is like all they want, right? Is like that's what you really want to like figure out. And SugarTown's now running into this. Is like, yo, they are distributing this stuff in such a poor way that they are shooting themselves in the foot, right? And that's the thing you want to learn. And this is what you want to think about for all the free mints you're working on, right? And looking at is who's protecting your whitelist, who's protecting your allocation, right? Like, this is going to be the large challenge here in this market. Sure, if the 200 people who hold 2x mint holders, like, but who cares about that? It's like such a small supply. Yeah, as Fuzzy notes, it's just another botter, right? It just purely, this problem is, right? Like, this market continually is too short-sighted, right? It's just straight up short-sighted. And I don't blame these guys playing this game, right? I blame Zynga for not knocking these people out, right? And I'm very, and I'm very okay with this, right? Because I'm telling you, all these people out like this, right? is that if you're not focused on your curation methodology in a bear, you're putting your project in a really bad position. And that's kind of the really tough spot. Freeman's right. There is one good metric. It's decent, unique owners. But I think the rest of the stuff uh, is pretty weak to defend where this project is going. Um, I mean, we're not picking and pecking at profiteers. We're picking and pecking at an awful curation strategy. And I think that's the different thing. And I think that's kind of why, like, a lot of people struggle to take like constructive feedback. Is that this is without a doubt an awful curation strategy. There's no other way around it to talk about Zynga on that front. And because of that curation strategy, it is massively hampering the ceiling of the project out the gates. And that's something you have to learn to see the long-term connection on, right? And that's what we're trying to teach you here. Again, I've already said there could be buy opportunities here if you believe in their communication, right? Next file, there's no extraction of ETH. I know you're very aggressive with your language here, but this is a free mint. There's no extraction of ETH for Zynga. If there's extraction of ETH, it's botters who are able to get it. But this is not an extraction of ETH by a builder. It's a free mint. But they had anti-bot system. I mean, they didn't have. There was no bots. Like I don't think you understand what's actually happening next, pal. But I think what you're told you what they had no bot. I mean, yeah, they had anti-bot, right? But that's like you saying that. Do you have an anti-grinder system? Like people don't have that. All this happens with a lot of projects. I want to be like very, very clear, right? Is that this will be a it's a misattribution of who they thought were real users through their Discord curation. And everyone sucks at this, right? Like that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? So I think like yeah, I think you want to be a little bit more clear. Um, Freeman says, by the way, I'm not going all out in defending Zynga. I mean, I don't think you are either. I'm just disputing how big of an error this is in the end. I mean, sure, you could dispute it, but like we'll like just remember this conversation, Freeman, in 2 weeks. Um, like I don't want an audience members here to get it twisted. Just like this guy here saying extraction of ETH. Yeah, like I definitely. That's why I'm balancing it. That's the knee jerk reception to Nolan's point Stain is making about could have been a better mint. Yeah, I agree. Like we don't want knee jerk reactions, which I think is pretty important here as well. And this is not an ETH extraction. And again, I said this at the very start. Give credit to Zynga for making this a free mint. There's profit if you're looking at from profit, right? But again, it's just understanding how to kind of build in this ecosystem. It's very different. And I think in a bear market like Freeman, what you're underestimating, in my opinion, with it, is that you're going to struggle in a bear market. Your need for perfection is almost so high that everything dies. Like, show me a project that succeeded in this bear. Like, we pretty much almost all cannot even bring up more than like a couple of names. And then show me a project that curated poorly at the start through bots that also succeeded, right? And that's the pattern matching, right? That you actually have to understand. And I think pattern matching is a very important thing to evaluate. So, like Freeman, when you do bring a counterpoint, show me a proof or an example in your language as well. Like, hey, this was an outlier who did it well. And that's also where you'll start really educating people as well. Is just really try to understand, okay, I understand your perspective, but hey, here's the counter, and I saw it work with this project. And you'll get way more credibility because right now it's just like uh, a very, objective opinion that you're just saying. It's like, I don't believe it is. Giving you the pattern continually with every project and pointing out wallets that are doing it, there's no way you could argue those are positive things, and you're not arguing that. But then tell me why you are actually bullish on Sugartown. I'd be more interested in that. Give me your conviction points, right? Not your soft like, hey, I might not agree. That's fine if you don't agree, but I want to know what conviction on, and that's what I want more people to come with here as well too. And I think this is kind of where it is. Ooh, so they don't even have built-in contract royalties, or maybe it's 0% royalties. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Freeman. I know it's hard to pull differences out, and I know you did not just disagree to not agree. Like I definitely. I definitely think you're doing a great job having this conversation with me. Don't get me wrong, Freeman. I'm with you. I've liked you in the past before, but bring in those things as well with that too, and it'll be helpful because then we can have a nice little conversation. Because I'm always looking for outliers, right, dude? Like I fucking came out here and said, I got it wrong on my friend Karma. Like she figured out something on. I still don't understand the Arbitrum thing. I really don't, but she really figured this out. I actually think so. They actually said 5%. So sorry, let's actually think through this. I'm curious. Did Sugartown actually put royalties in the contract? I know they might not be enforced, but I'm just curious. Was it actually written 5% in the contract? Oh yeah, there's creator earnings is 5% on OpenSea. I know it could easily be pushed out, but on OpenSea they're not enforced. It defaults to 5%. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like legal positions in the US that say you shouldn't take any royalties. Royalties is like a form of future profit revenue sharing, like, and it could technically trigger you into like security law violation. It's a very weird argument, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they just went zero with it. But it's actually crazy that they did put contracts, but they didn't enforce it, which is interesting. But I also know because of how OpenSea's changes, it might not be possible to do it here as well. Yikes! So they're not making anything off revenue there or revenue. Yeah, the 64% unique owners is still bullish. So is this first wave done? Because it looks like it just. Oh no, it's at 3,324, but it's just. When's the next wave start? And then we'll do another event. Or we'll just kind of keep this going. Because right now, right, we're kind of stuck at 0.12 at the moment right now. With some crazy walls at 0.13. It's crazy. There's 36 listed at 0.13 exactly. Like it's just a massive wall right there, which is pretty funny. And then in order to eat this, to even get this to a 0.14, you need another 12 ETH straight by. I mean, that's what actually this needs. It probably needs a couple whales to come in and buy 100. I mean, of course, every project needs that, but this absolutely needs it. But man, it actually looks like it's going to cross 300. I don't know if it's going to cross. It's going to get to around 250 volume, it looks like. I don't know. There's still another half supply to lock in. This is really good volume, though. Like, I'm telling you, there's really good volume. Yeah, that's true. Moonbags also brings up a good point. Lots of modders don't consolidate them in, so unique owners in a free mint like this might not be correct. Yeah, I'm very curious. Like the unique owner number, we probably have to wait in it. Thanks Forza and Freeman for the information. Right. Um, it looks like the next phase is an hour and 30 minutes, which is interesting as well. And that's a private first come first serve. Curious to see how many of those are going to be seeking immediate profit. I mean, this is also another problem that I think Zynga's made. There's no reason there's no expectation of what to hold. Like if Zynga was smart, at least just make the staking system live right now. Like go stake your stuff, like do a little loop or something like that, and it starts a timer. Like you might as well just start pushing people into this here as well. Because I'm curious, yeah. Whales probably aren't coming in. So it might go to phase three. Very interesting. When if there is a public, I hope it doesn't go to public for their stake. But based off the numbers, it does look like it will. If first come first serve is only 1,850 total. But again, we'll see how many people mint out in the next 90 minutes here in this section. But again, very interesting to see. But like, what do you want to take away from this? Is that like, free mints, even when you have Zynga, pretty hard to break point two at the moment right now. They've been stuck between 0.1 and 0.15. Very interesting to see where that kind of sustains. The other big problem that they're running into is that they clearly did a really bad job of curating. And don't get me wrong, we see it too. Like I told you guys, there are a ton of those networks that we've flagged on our end that were in their servers with high levels, right? And that's kind of like the larger challenge here as well. But congrats if you did get it, and you'll have like some upside here. I think that's interesting. If I'm also looking at this, I'm looking at seeing if there's an accumulation opportunity. As this settles down, and this is kind of where you want to see where the market is going to actually protect and defend this. And that's kind of where I'm not sure where this is going to. I'm not sure where this is going to land. Because I don't know how many botters are still in multiple wallets. It's actually crazy that these botters fused all their assets into one wallet. Like, it's crazy. I mean, like, I know they could probably just open hundreds of more wallets, but they're just, like, blacklisting all of their wallets, right? Like, you could now, like, go find these guys, and I know it's not that hard to find some of these connections, but they're making it super easy, right? Which is kind of weird. And I'm not sure why this ecosystem is struggling to put real community curation. And that's something that Tribe is still figuring out. And like I said, like we made you guys go through a lot of like hurdles along the way in different ways. You actually have to be interactive. We also do our own curation. And we're still far from perfect. I guarantee you when we mint Oath, there'll be someone who's like, I 3 oaths somehow, right? There'll be someone like that. I sure as hell won't have anyone who says like I got 30 oath, right? That's the crazy thing, right? But there will still be some that will figure out a way because again, without me interviewing every single person, right? It's a very hard thing to do. And we've been fighting this for 6+ months, right? Like 6+ months, and that's why also these people are going to get super mad, right? Because a lot of these people have been here and they're just like, damn, I just lost it, right? Like I showed you that image, right? Let me show you. I always love showing this image because I just think it's like hilarious, right? It's hold on, let me find my favorite image from last time. These are the types of people we have to deal with. Right, because like I said, a lot of these people do think they are in the right. They think that it is fine, that they're willing to, be able to get access to this, right? And this is kind of like why this challenge is that when you do kick people out, first they'll say that, oh, I was kicked out for being inactive, and then he responds and then uses his own alt and says, bro, he boot all my accounts, right? And that's kind of the hilarious thing. right? And this is the biggest challenge here, right, in this market is that these people still think, right, it's their right to be able to have multiple alts, right? And this dude was super mad at me. It was pretty funny. Like you could see it in the last message, right? He's like, "Say Web, I promise you, on Yamula had." I forget what exactly it was. Like he said some weird stuff. He's like, "Hey, I promise you, you won't get any more water," or something like that. It was really weird. There's some really interesting, like weird threats, like you won't get water, and water is what you need to live. I gotta go find what he said. It was so weird. Which is crazy. I mean, all these people threaten us in some small way very quickly, and then they all go shit on us in their private communities, and then they say a lie about why they were kicked. Right? It's hilarious. Like, oh, I got kicked for my views. Like, bro, we don't kick you for your views. What the fuck are you talking about? Right? Like, we kicked you because you and your 9 sisters all had the same accounts, and we wanted to remove them. Like you are a family, you could have one oath as a family. That's what it is. Like that's our new rule. One oath per family, right? So that these people don't have 9 brothers and sisters that they all live with that they want. And it's actually funny too. It's like we've actually found some legit like partners here, right? Like husband wives or boyfriend girlfriends that are actually real like partners. It's actually crazy. There are actual women in Web3. I promise you. And there's actually quite a few here as well. And that's kind of the nice little thing here is that we've been able to you know unlock some really interesting conversations and understanding where how some of these dynamics of our holders look like, which is really funny. Senator Ridwan has it. Oh yeah, what was it? You Big Pop Artist, what, you got booted because you had multiple alts in the Discord. Yeah. I promise you, you'll find an intercessor and won't see one. I don't even know what that means. What's an intercessor? Does anyone know what that means? Right? Like, where are you going? Like, I don't even know. Right? It's funny, right? We all get these, and it's funny, right? Like, it's also intercession. Someone who will pray for you. Oh, okay. I will find someone to pray for you and won't see one? Or I will try to find someone, but I won't find that person. So, what does he mean by that? Like, I don't even understand. It's pretty funny. Um, yeah, he might not know what he's saying. Or, honestly, it could be a language group. Yeah, I learned something new, too. I did not know what that word meant. It did sound like he was trying to cast voodoo. And, like, yeah, the other person who said something about water, like, I promise you, you won't find water when you need water. Like, he thinks I'm that dude stuck on a desert, right? And, like, I will need water from him, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm not really sure what's kind of going on with this, but it's funny because I don't care, right? And I want to be very clear. Uh, I think like the overall problem still that you want to like think about here is that Tribe goes through all these steps and we're still not perfect. And like there's a reason why we don't do pre-mint. There's a reason why we don't do alpha bot. Like we're very, very clear at this run as well. And I think this is kind of like the challenge here is that if you don't see a community protecting the community, like if you don't see protecting the community and the curation of that community, it should be red flags, right? And you should ask yourself as well, like, are these good holders? Are these, people with meaningful wallets? Are these people who've been around on projects? And again, you don't have to be a whale to be a good holder. Like, we don't believe that. But we do believe that you should hold something and contribute to that community in a meaningful way. That's what you should be. And that could be something you got for a free mint, 0.01. It doesn't matter. Price is like not the game. I actually want to work hard to like literally give you guys your first bag through Tribe. I actually think that's important, right? All of you, some of you have already made bags, amazing. So I hope that we just add bags to you, right? Like over time, right? Add experiences. But I also think it's very important to be willing to be a product that can build your first, meaningful wins, right? And meaningful upsides and meaningful opportunities too. And that's kind of where this challenge of building in a bear comes. So take all this feedback from what we just saw on Sugartown, right? Like I think again, we're just trying to provide perspective, right? Uh, too much sugar is what I'll call this one, right? In this town, I don't know even what that means, but we're gonna go with it. I was gonna use intercessor, but it sounds weird. I don't know. It's not a language. It's not a word I use in my normal vocabulary. So I'll keep it. I'll keep it simple. But what I want you to see is that look, hey, these guys are a big, big publicly traded entity, tons of capital, tons of resources, all of these elements, and they made a lot of fatal flaws already in their mint. And fatal flaws are going to be a massive variable, right? That is going to impact the success of your project and your holders because the attention span is so short in Web3, right? If you don't keep your holders excited during that mint, like you lose almost all of your attention. And to be very honest, Sugartown's attention wasn't that big in this market. It was only somewhat big because of the Zynga name. But if you actually look at like some of the major whale chats and contributions, like Sugartown barely comes up. It wasn't even coming up on OTC channels that often as well either as well. And this is kind of like the other problem is that, I don't know if Zynga's going to get another meaningful audience in 2 weeks if this floors around 0.06, 0.07, regardless of what they build. Because there's another story here and another project you want to keep your eye on that's actually really good builders, right? And honestly just struggled because they didn't do great bit allocation and mint structures. Who was that? Pirates. Our big old boys at Pirate Nation? What is it, the name? I already forgot. Dude, like that's how bad I've already forgotten the name. I think it's Pirate Nation, right? No. I don't know. And Junker will tell me. Yeah, you guys will figure it out. And yeah, Pirate Nation. Okay, yeah. And those guys are like legitimately like they've raised $16 million. They're literally it's the original co-creator of Farmville, so ex Zynga. That guy straight up, was a solid builder. That game's actually not. It's not the game I care about. Right? It is Farmville with fucking like extra steps and clicks. I fucking hate it. It's not for me. But there are tons of gamers who do like that product experience. Right? It's not for me though. Right? So what is the actual challenge here? Is that Pirate Nation ran into the same problem, 10,000 supply. They also launched in bear market. They launched probably in the worst time. They launched, I think, 2 weeks after FTX. Literally launched when we were thinking about launching Lost Realms. And, where's Pirate Nation now? Well, they've already, like, jumped to another chain. And they're now sitting at a 0.03 floor. 0.04 floor. The last sales have been someone weethed a shit ton at 0.03. Few sales at 0.04 as well. Crazy. That's a venture-backed team with a real engine, all sustaining. And it's gone. Right? Like, it's like that game is already forgotten. I think I own like 5 or 6 or 10 of these pirates somewhere. I think I sent them to half of them to Njunka, half of them to someone else. I don't even know. I don't even care. Right? And yeah, Pirate Nation, yeah, Njunka's here. He's going free to play now. Like, cool. It's like almost forgotten at this point. And I don't think they like. And Njunka, you play this game, or maybe you do still. I don't even know. But is the game actually good? Like, is there anything that you're actually interested in, or is it just you got downtime and you might as well click through shit? Yeah, no, it's boring. Right, so what's the point then? Are you just grinding for chest? Like, what's the goal here at this point? Yeah, it's a pirate click and walk simulator. Bro, it doesn't even have like, but at least like in a pirate click and walk simulator, I'd want that to be in 3D. I can kind of like wobble when I get drunk, right? And then like walk onto a ship, like Pirates of the Caribbean style. I'd play that game. But I definitely don't want to click like time management games. Hey, your pirate's available to build. Chop wood? Yes, please. Oh, you own 80 pirates? Well, fuck you. You gotta click that same button 80 times every 4 hours. Because guess what? You suck. Right? Like, I don't even know who's gonna play that in free to play realistically, to be very honest. Like, it was brutal. That was the worst part about Pirate Nation. And I bet you Sugartown will make the same mistake. It was an awful product experience if you're a whale. Dude, I held at one point like 30 or 40 pirates. And my God, there was no auto click at the start. So I had to literally sit there every 4 to 8 hours. Like, honestly, it wasn't even four. Technically, every 2 hours, your energy gets back, right? Or something like that. It was a very short time span. And literally manually click for 30 to 40 times. And it was so fucking slow. Like, I was like, if this is Web3 gaming, we should all just save ourselves the time and, like, destroy the blockchains. Like, it's just going to be garbage. And I wouldn't be surprised Sugartown goes to, like, a similar approach because I'll be very honest. I know it's not exciting to say. Like, Wolf Game is not a fun game. Like, I know people think it's fun because there's some trading value and there's a little bit of game theory behind it. It's just not a fun game to me, though. Like, it's not what drives me in a long term play. If I just want to play trading games, I'll just buy and trade NFTs and shitcoins. I don't need another abstraction of that game experience unless they do something really interesting socially. And that's where I think, like, if you're going to see a Web3 game work, there's going to be like this real play on guilds. Someone needs to solve guilds. Guilds and crew designs are going to be like the most powerful and valuable thing that can actually bring groups of people to do things. But like, look how disappointing like Web3 gaming has been. Like, have you played heavy metal? If not, like, don't. And if you have, I'm sorry. That thing's a fucking atrocity of a game. It really is. It's not a game. It's literally the same point and click garbage. And then they built awful game mechanics behind it to allow you to like, buy and trade likes. It was really weird. And this is kind of like the challenge here as well too. No, man, I have Freeman. I hope Battle Plan's good. Battle Plan's going to be a lot more interesting than fucking um, heavy metal. I also think Rec Game's super uninteresting. And man, did you see that? Did you see the tournament structure on Rec Game? Like, did you see how bad they designed it? Oh my god! Show like if you want to like any proof that Yuga has no clue what they're fucking doing, let me show you their Twitter. What is it? Is it Yuga Labs who probably tweeted it out? Hold on. I gotta see who tweeted out, or it might just be under No, it's not under Yuga. It'd be under Rec League, right? So that would be Rec League. Probably tweeted it out. One sec. Oh yeah, here we go. Uh, just click this and then read the comments. It's pretty fucking hilarious. Here, I'll read them for you. Here, I'll just share my screen. Why not? One sec. Um, there you go. There you go. I also posted it in. But here, real quick. Starting on September 14th at 11 a.m., you'll be able to compete for points and place on the leaderboard to earn amazing prizes. You'll have to earn points through play during specific times for the leaderboard scores to count. Win games, and you'll move up the charts. They're all like Pacific time, 3 to 4:30, 11 to 12:30, and then 7 to 10:30. It looks like daily. Everyone of the mech playing during specific windows will be eligible for rewards. Here's the complete list of rewards, and then just this weird, crazy leaderboard of 17,000 people could win, which is crazy. And it's super weird. It's like a super ugly distribution of prizes. And then like people start asking questions. Wait, do I have to play every day 4 hours, 30 minutes, and accumulate points for 2 weeks? Right? It's like, and then you start hearing it's like great move, ignoring how I don't know if Gaspa. Oh, maybe he's crazy. Wait, so I have to play all 3 times every day to miss one? I'll go down in ranking. Can you compete on this with Founders Max? Can someone give me the bull case on time-based leaderboard mechanics? I just don't see how this leads to the best experience for the majority of folks looking to play. It's weird. This is, White House says this is objectively really horrible game design. And I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, hope you realize the error of this approach before launch. Gamers want a fun, casual experience with non-intrusive elements like this, right? It's pretty interesting. Just shows you like they're really struggling. I think this is an awful, awful reward structure. And the reason why it's an awful reward structure is that when you're dealing with a global audience, certain time windows, and if you require them to have to be in all those time windows, you're only incentivizing people who have more time than money. And that's not a good thing, right? You could make that a part of the incentive pool, but it can't be the only thing. This just becomes a grind fest. And you're going to actually wreck your relationship between the gamers and the product experience when you build tournament structures like this. Again, there's still more details to come, and we'll see if they'll figure this stuff out. But again, it just shows you. I mean, Rec League's already on its way out, so it's less interesting at this point. It's just sad though, right? Because again, this market just gets stuck in this as well. So spend some time, look around, evaluate, see what's happening, and what you'll quickly realize in this market is that most of these people don't have a good understanding of how gaming is actually going to survive in Web3. We're going to get all these bad plays, and this is Yuga, and this is also another Web2 gaming team. God, what is the name? They did the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game. I'm forgetting on their. Oh, I'm forgetting on their stupid name. For the parent company for Rec League as well. But it's actually a legit Web2 company. And what you're seeing is that these guys still don't understand how to build product experiences for Web3. And this is the problem for gaming as a category. And we'll talk more about this later because I was all in on gaming. I had to eject from gaming, right? Because I realized gaming is not what this market wants, nor is it what it needed. So I've seen both sides of this coin. I'm still very bullish on gaming onboarding the masses, but I don't think it's going to be like any of these products that you're looking at right now. I think almost all of these guys have gotten it wrong, and I think that's going to be like the fun thing to kind of be able to change or update here as well. Is that we're going to recognize really fast is that we're going to get just a bunch of insights from all these people, right? And I think that's going to be great. So real quick, let's just check out on Sugar Town before we wrap up. let me refresh this. My slow ass internet. Discord gets really slow when I screen share. It's annoying. So around 0.11 ETH here at the moment right now. Let's see how many have been minted. 3,627 holders, 2,143. So unique owners is dropping already. So now down to 59%. Someone just listed at 0.1, but whatever. It's not much. Let's just check out Blur real quick to see if there's anything happening there. This was Sugartown Auras. Oh, yeah, 0.1 is here listed here as well. 0.104 here. Oh, looks like it just got bought. So yeah, we're gonna see where this number is. If I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna put guesses. None of this is financial advice. It's just blind guesses based off old school pattern matching here. Um, the biggest thing, the biggest like stuff I'd say is that I believe when this fully mints out by Monday, this will probably be around a 40%, 42% to 44% unique owner rate, which is still not bad. But it will drop. I believe like 10-15% here. I think this floor will probably, like I said, will stay in the range of 0.1 to 0.15. Really, only reason it gets to 0.15 is either whales or something bullish, like needs to be announced. We haven't seen any of that yet, so want to keep an eye on this as well. But we are seeing good volume. As I said, I think they would need to, if they really were going to break 0.2 or higher, they probably needed to do about 300 ETH in volume today. It looks like they're going to fall short of that, right? Again, still 150 ETH though in the first 2 hours. Give them credit. That's good. It's good. There's enough awareness. There's enough buyers, and man, imagine if they curated. That's all I can say is imagine if they curated this correctly. This could be 0.2, 0.25 ETH right now. And if they curated and did small supply correctly and actually built a vision, this could be between 0.5 to 1 ETH. These are the different deltas of opportunities that they could have come out with, and that's fun to learn, fun to evaluate, fun to assess. So, take some insight from that, and we'll try to keep pushing this in for kind of the next layers and learn. Again, there's no FUD here, there's no attacks here. It's just understanding the realities of this and giving you guys a perspective. And again, take everything I say with a grain of salt, evaluate on your own, and hopefully you'll be able to be in a nice position to be able to find the projects that align with you as well long term. So with that, guys, I'm going to let you all go. We have a lot of stuff planned tomorrow. So we're going to have some cool things coming out then, and then we'll give you some updates next week on Sol, some passive relics, some new game experiences. We got some cool things coming in. But guys, with that, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll hopefully have some time to chat soon. Bye-bye now.